The Aztecs are infamous for their bloodthirsty cult of human sacrifice. But 500 years ago, a far deadlier menace stalked the killing fields of North America, wiping out up to 80% of the ancient population.
There was a mysterious disease, a new disease. There was a horrific disease.
Most people believe that what killed the Aztecs was a unique historical event. The arrival of Old World diseases carried by Spanish invaders. Now, scientific research suggests an entirely different explanation for this human tragedy. If this new theory is correct, the fate of the Aztecs could repeat itself in the 21st century. Today, Mexico City is one of the largest metropolises in the world. 20 million people live and work here. 5 centuries ago, this is also the site of one of the greatest cities on Earth. Tenochtitlan, with a population in excess of 200,000 people, is the capital of a technologically advanced society. By 1519, the Aztecs mastered the principles of astronomy and mathematics to produce a detailed stone calendar. They have a sophisticated understanding of medical science. And the ancient Americans establish a complex network of aqueducts supplying fresh water to the sprawling capital.
We know of the Romans building large cities, but the Aztecs were actually equally knowledgeable. They were fantastic engineers. We have a city built on a swampy lake.
15 to 30 million people live under Aztec rule, a population greater than that of modern Illinois, in a kingdom that stretches from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
It was one of the largest empires ever to be seen in the New World.
1519. The city of Tenochtitlan has flourished for nearly 200 years. Now, all this is about to end. Cortés, the Spanish conquistador, lands with an army of less than 1,000 at modern-day Veracruz on Mexico's Gulf Coast. He topples the Aztec Emperor Montezuma with a combination of political and military skill, plus some sheer good luck. It's the start of a catastrophic Aztec decline. When the Spanish first set foot on Mexican soil, they faced some 15 million Native Americans. And yet, within half a century, up to 80% of this population is wiped out. A dramatic new discovery in 2004 reveals new clues about what may have killed the Aztecs. Oaxaca, some 482 kilometers southeast of Mexico City. Archaeologists uncover the hastily buried remains of some 2,000 early Americans, who likely died in the years following the arrival of the conquistadores. Harvard bone detective Noreen Touros investigates this ancient murder mystery. She starts by eliminating an obvious suspect: military force by the invading Spanish army.
In battle situations, there is always trauma associated with battle, and there's always marks left on the skeleton. We just don't see that at all.
And she rules out famine as a cause of death.
I mean, that's the other thing you might ask. Was there sort of a massive die-off because they were starving? We have no evidence for that. They seem to be a well-fed, healthy population.
There are, though, other clues. Many of the victims are young. They appear fit, healthy, and well-fed. And yet, as many as 2,000 Aztecs are hastily buried in makeshift graves.
There was some understanding that it was very important to get these people in the ground pretty rapidly.
That suggests just one thing to the Boston bone detective.
The assumption, probably a very good one, is that they died of disease.
Touros's disease diagnosis seems to tally with what the history books tell us. The conquistadores, the story goes, bring with them to the Americas a weapon that is more deadly than their muskets and their political trickery. Old world diseases. Measles, typhus, smallpox, commonplace in Europe, do not exist in the Americas. The Aztecs have no immunity to these alien diseases. As a consequence, millions die. Disease expert John Marr studies the historical record of the epidemic outbreaks in 16th century Mexico. Many Aztecs died of Old World diseases, but he suspects that far more fell victim to a different killer. A report written by King Philip II of Spain's personal physician, Francisco Hernandez, based on autopsies on the victims of the 1576 epidemic, supports his hunch.
When I read Hernandez's report, I felt, I guess, elated.
This document, which had lain unread in the Spanish archives for 4 centuries, describes the autopsies he conducted on the ancient Americans.
In some people, gangrene invaded the lips and other putrefied parts of the body, and blood ran from the ears.
Hernandez lists the symptoms, but never names the disease.
Hernandez was Spanish, and he had probably seen hundreds, if not thousands, of cases of smallpox and typhus and even plague while he was resident in Spain. So when he arrived in the New World and saw this disease, he clearly knew it wasn't any of them.
Hernandez doesn't identify the condition, which leads Marr to a key conclusion.
This does not sound like a traditional old world disease. Even the Spanish who saw it didn't recognize it. It was a mysterious disease, a new disease. It was a horrific disease.